All right, let's go ahead and get started. So thanks again, everyone, for your time this morning. I do appreciate it. My name is Dave Lubnick with YCharts, and the topic here over the next 20-30 minutes is going to be talking about how YCharts can be used with wholesalers to win AUM before, during, and after meetings. This is recorded, so it'll be sent out afterwards if you'd like to share this with any of your colleagues. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask those through the chat box. I'll be sure to try to get to all those questions at the end of the session here. So the idea again with this is that we're going to talk about really three different topics. The first is going to be how YCharts can enable wholesalers to identify prospects, prospects that might have funds that are ripe for disruption, and how you can use that as you prepare for meetings. The second topic is going to be how YCharts can be leveraged during a meeting on the fly. That could either be in person, which is how YCharts was used predominantly before COVID in the wholesaling community, on a tablet, face-to-face with an advisor, although certainly it works great on a phone or a screen share as well. And then how you can leverage YCharts after a meeting to keep the momentum of the conversation going, quickly get back to them, quickly present them with materials rather than needing to wait many hours or even days to get them reports. So with that, let's dig in. I'm going to start off actually with some of the fund flow information that YCharts generates. This is very popular among our users on the distribution teams because of the fact that we're pulling in this fund flow information on a monthly basis, and then we are compiling it in a few different manners. You can certainly see it in the website whenever you're looking at a specific fund, but we also aggregate all the information on a monthly basis into a PDF. This PDF gets emailed out to every one of our users, and there's a lot of great insights here. So I think, again, as we're thinking about prospecting, let's dig into this for a second. So we have two different reports. One report is related to most of the Morningstar categories that are out there, looking at the flows for the month and then breaking them out between mutual funds and ETFs. So the report I have up on the screen here is for the month of June. So we're looking at just June's flows. And I think there's some interesting takeaways here that you could look at. First of all, for example, let's look at large blend up at the top of the screen. For the month of June, it saw almost 10 billion of inflows. But then when you look below that, it's kind of interesting to see that mutual funds actually had about 12 billion of outflows, while ETFs had 22 billion of inflows. So this is a great report to understand across categories where the flows are going, and then also breaking them down by those mutual funds and ETFs. If we scroll down further into the fixed income category, and this is what I'm going to spend a good amount of time on for the sake of the demos on this call, will be the intermediate core plus category. So that core plus category as a whole in the month of June saw about 8.5 billion of inflows. And then if you break that out, mutual funds led the way with about 7.7 billion of inflows, while ETFs contributed just under 700 million. So that might be a good starting point for many of you to just understand where the flows are going, where there might be opportunities. And then let's hop into the other report that we're producing and disseminating on a monthly basis. Now this report, in addition to kind of putting all the fund flows in one place, it's highlighting the 5 categories that had the largest inflows, and then the 5 specific funds that had the largest inflows. And we do this for both inflows as well as outflows, and we do it broken out by mutual funds and ETFs. So if we look here for the month of June, we had short-term bond leading the way with almost 9 billion of inflows for the month of June, followed by core plus with just under 8 billion, and then core bond right behind that. And then what you could do is you could scroll down below that and look within the core plus category, which 5 specific funds had the largest inflows. And then again, we repeat this process for outflows. So again, thinking about prospecting, you might find some nice opportunities here looking at maybe competitors that have lost assets within a particular category, understanding where the flows are going, use that to prompt some conversations. And again, this here is for the outflows of mutual funds. And then as I scroll down, there's 2 more pages. There's the page for inflows for ETFs led by large blend, followed by large growth. And then we have the page for the outflows as well. So all users automatically receive this. If for some reason you're not getting it, please contact me afterwards and we'll make sure that you're on that distribution list. And this is a very valuable report for most folks. So now let's take this to the next step. So you identify Core Plus as a category where you want to do some prospecting. Within YCharts now, I'm going to hop into YCharts.com and I'm going to go into our fund screener. So the fund screener is a very powerful and popular tool where we start with over 80,000 securities, and then you can filter down to the specific information that you're looking for. And that's achieved through this modify button in the top left corner. You can choose your category, your type of security, whether it be a mutual fund or ETF or SMA, your share class. You can also choose brokerage availability. So brokerage availability is very, very popular, very unique in YCharts. This ability to filter the list down further from all of the Core Plus bond funds, for example, to only those available on a particular platform, such as LPL Swim or Ameriprise SPS or Morgan Stanley Select UMA. And the idea is you only need to create that screen once, or even only one person at your firm needs to create it, and then everybody else can leverage it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a saved screen that I have where we're going to look at Core Plus funds available at Morgan Stanley Select UMA. So you can see here by adding that filter on for Morgan Stanley, we're down to only 42 funds. It's a very manageable list. Now you can add in any of the 400, 500 metrics that we have in the system as columns and then sort those by simply clicking on the column header. So again, from a prospecting perspective, this should be gold for everybody because you can have this set up for exactly the platforms that you're working with, exactly the categories that you're working with, have these screens readily available. You could literally pull them up on your iPad in a parking lot before you're walking into a meeting and understand, for example, maybe sorting on fund flows here over the last year, which funds have seen the largest outflows. Or maybe you want to sort on 1 year total return and see which funds have had the worst performance over that time frame. So looking at fund flows, looking at performance, certainly two popular ways to look at this, but you can even take it other ways as well. Maybe you want to look at max drawdown or yield or duration, pulling credit qualities or geographic exposures, risk metrics, additional fundamentals. Anything you can think of, it's probably in the system. It's easily added through this plus Metricom button in the top right corner. Add those in there, sort on them, save it, and it'll always be there at your fingertips. Every time you open it up, it's refreshed with the most recent information. So now you have a good understanding of some of your competitors, especially some of those that might be ripe for losing assets and replacing them with your funds. Let's take it to another step, which is going to be saving all of these as a watch list. So I've got my 42 funds within the Core Plus category at Morgan Stanley Select UMA. With one click of a button, I can save those as a watch list. Now, back on the dashboard of YCharts, I can monitor that watch list. So what you'll see here is when I hop into the dashboard of YCharts, I have a number of watch lists. I've got some tabs across the top that you can set up, all very customizable. And it's a great way for me to now monitor those 42 funds, and in particular, do a couple things with them. Number one, go to the data tab within that watch list, choose your favorite metrics again. Maybe it's related to fund flows, maybe it's related to performance. And just whenever you log into YCharts, come in there and sort. Maybe it's 1 month return instead of 1 year return, and just easily see who's struggling right now over the last month or 3 months or year to date, whatever time frame you choose. And then you can even take it one step further, which is the kind of final piece of this, which is alerts. Alerts, I think, are often overlooked, but very powerful. And it's the ability to create alerts simply through this options dropdown, create edit alerts on any of those 400 metrics in the system on either a single security or a watch list. So I could create an alert here, for example, on the 42 funds within this watch list that would automatically notify me via email or in the system if, for example, the ranking category year to date drops to the bottom quartile, if that's something you'd want to know, or maybe the fund flows go negative. Or how about manager turnover? We have a lot of great statistics here around average manager tenure, maximum, minimum. You can set alerts on that as well to know if there's some PM turnover within a particular fund. And then the last piece of this first category of prospecting would be another feature within YCharts that I don't think many of you probably are aware of, and it's called email reports. The idea behind email reports is that you can automate the information gathering materials. So you go into email reports and you can set up these modules, and you set up a module there to automatically be notified. You can set the cadence, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, on whatever you want to see. So it could be that watch list, and it could be sorted on performance. It could be some of your favorite charts. It can be economic data, whatever is of interest to you. If you like to have a daily digest or weekly digest, come from YCharts, completely customized to the securities, the information, the metrics that you care about. Talk to us afterwards. We can help you get this email report set up. And I think it'd be really helpful and impactful and make things efficient for you. All right, second category, using YCharts on the fly. So in a meeting, on a phone call, screen share, whatever it might be, one of the great things about YCharts is that you can just use the search box at the top to look up a security. So if you know the ticker, great. If you don't, that's fine. Let's again keep playing this out. So I'm going to use the largest fund by AUM within that Core Plus category at Morgan Stanley Select UMA, which was this Met West fund. So by simply typing in the ticker or typing in the name, I land on this homepage. It's a great place to get a one-stop shop on the fly with all the information you'd want on that fund. So you have some tabs along the top. I'll come back to some of those other tabs in a second. But what we have here, just scrolling down on this first page, is very helpful. So we've got a total return chart. Below that, key stats, which, by the way, you can even customize these so you can see exactly the key stats that you might want to have at your fingertips. Below that, those fund flows. So again, these are updated monthly. You can see in the bottom left corner, they're through the end of June. Typically, they're updated within a couple days of the new month. You can see not only different look back periods, not only the actual flows, but then the ranking category as well. So this ranking category right here, it's a percentile ranking 1 to 100. The lower the number, the better. So understand how the flows are looking for that fund. And then below that, similarly, we have ranking category for performance. On the right side, general information on the fund. As I scroll up, some risk metrics, all the fundamentals that you'd probably look to see, and then again, kind of basic information on the fund. Touching on some of those other tabs at the top, I've got an Allocations tab. Great place to visualize asset allocation, geographic exposure, sector exposure, maturity, credit quality. Again, all this at your fingertips on the fly, keeping the conversation going, dissecting that competitor that you weren't aware of that they were going to bring up on the meeting, and be able to dig into it. Holdings tab as well. I'll skip that for now. And then the charting. So maybe you want to now chart performance of that security against one of yours, against a benchmark, against a portfolio, whatever it might be. The charting in YCharts is very, very powerful. So what I'm going to do here is, just for the sake of time, open up a saved template that I have. So right here, what I have is maybe just an easy chart that I put together looking at that Met West fund against some competitors. But then what I've done is I've said, all right, I don't want to just look at total return. I might also want to look at dividend yield. So I've got that charted right below that. And then let's not forget about the 300,000 economic indicators that we have in YCharts that are all at your fingertips. And maybe something like a 10-year treasury rate, or maybe it's some spreads or the 2-year. Keep in mind, we've got currencies, commodities, dollar index, cryptos, vaccination data, case data. Literally everything that's out there around the world is virtually available in YCharts. You can visualize it. A lot of them have 50, 60 years of history or more, and it's all there available for you. And then the next step here is maybe you want to have that conversation with the advisor around a particular environment, a particular scenario. So for example, the advisor is concerned that rates might be rising. So let's look at how these funds performed in a particular environment. And again, just for the sake of time, I have that created as a template. And that's the beauty of YCharts, is you get it set up once. It's always available for you to then open up. You can easily add other tickers in the top left corner for whatever might come up in that conversation. And now I'm honing in on a particular environment. So from September 7th, 2017 to May 17th, 2018, in that kind of 8-month window, the 10-year treasury rate went from just over 2% to 3.11%, 3.11%. So big increase there in the 10-year treasury rate. How did those funds perform in that type of environment? So many of you have been speaking with us over the last few months about these types of charts, whether it be rates rising, putting inflation on there. The falling dollar index was a big one a few months ago. Anything that's top of mind, anything that will help you in your conversations with your prospects and clients can be achieved in YCharts here for you to access on the fly. Something else that's popular on the fly, if I look to the right side of the screen, are what we call quick flows. So these quick flows are available for a single security as well as a comparison. They're relatively new. Everybody might not be aware of them, but they are very, very popular and very helpful for those on-the-fly meetings. So when I come in here, rather than looking at a single, I'm actually going to go to the comparison tab at the top. And right here, you can type in anywhere between 2 and 12 securities. Once I do that, I have a lot of options below. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of these tables because I think those are very popular for a lot of folks. One of those might be, I want to talk about credit quality for these 4 funds head to head. So all I have to do is click that. It's going to take me to a different part of YCharts called comp tables. And now what it's going to do is it's going to build out a table, those 4 securities and the credit spectrum. If you want to add anything else in here, real easy to add that. If you need to add another security, easy to do that. If you want to get rid of one of these securities, easy to do that. So I'm talking about credit quality. I can sort this. I can see double line in AAA has 65% versus maybe PGIM at 40%. And then let me pop open the quick flow again, and let's go with fixed income sector exposures. So again, all this coming from Morningstar, all the metrics that you care about, but now I can change the columns to look at the sector exposures. And then one last one to show you that I think is quite popular, especially as we get into the second half of the year, is around tax adjusted returns. So again, data points that everybody might not be familiar with in YCharts, but very powerful, again, especially as we get towards the end of the year. And it's this ability to look at returns, not just in a pre-tax basis, but also adjusted for taxes at the highest federal rate across all the dividends and distributions. And it's interesting to look at that, what we call tax cost ratio. And if you sort on, for example, a 1-year tax cost ratio, you can see quite a discrepancy between some of these funds and the impact of taxes on their returns. So those are a couple of the ways that folks can use YCharts on the fly. Again, ability to quickly look up securities, compare them against yours or others, quickly open up templates that you've pre-built. After just 1 or 2 training sessions with us, you should be comfortable enough to use some of those basics with a client face-to-face. And again, it's all about keeping the momentum of the meeting. Think about how much more valuable it is to answer those questions, draw those comparisons while you are still sitting with them or have them on the phone call versus needing to follow up with them hours or days later with a comparison report or hypo or something else that just gets buried in their inbox. And then the last topic that we're going to talk about, maintaining the momentum after the meeting. So again, this touches on what I just mentioned, keeping the conversation going, not introducing any friction where it's, hey, let me get back to you. And then you have to call your internal or call somebody else on the team to run a report. They might be bogged down. They might be out of the office. Best case, it's hours. Worst case, it might be days to get them that comparison report. So let's hop back into a particular security here again. And if we were on MetWest and we wanted to draw a comparison, all we have to do is look to this reports button in the top right corner. If I click this reports button, I've got a lot of choices here. Some of these reports can be just for the single security. Others are going to be for a comparison. Now, I will note there's a lot of choices here. What we have done working with most of the firms that have YCharts across the board is we've worked with your compliance teams, we've worked with your management teams to narrow these reports down. So you only see a few reports, exactly the reports that have been compliance approved. They have your custom disclosures in there, they have your logo in there, they're exactly the way you want to see them. And then as a user, you simply come in here, you choose the report you want, you choose a competitor, and you can generate a report in less than 5 seconds. So literally while you're still in the meeting or right after the meeting, And then because it would be branded, because it would have all your disclosures, you could email that or print that off. And again, these reports they come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. We can customize virtually all aspects of these. Make sure you have compliance approval before you send these out, but a lot of the folks on this call do have that ability. And this is great because again, it enables them to keep the momentum right there while they have the advisor's attention. So this is great for a head-to-head comparison. The other situation which comes up a lot is as it relates to a portfolio. So maybe it's an advisor's current matrix, and then you're going to substitute one or two of your securities in there and create that hypothetical. So for that, YCharts has an entire tool called Model Portfolios. And the idea here is that you can create any portfolio you'd like. All you have to do is create it once, or somebody at your firm creates it, and then it's available in your library here to open up. Every time you open it or run a report, it's going to be all up to date. And the idea is that these are very easy to create, uploading a spreadsheet or just putting tickers and weights in. And then once you have that open, you can view the weighted performance, the weighted metrics, risk, etc. But you can also generate reports. So from here, again, that reports button exists in the top right corner. I can run a report just on that portfolio or head-to-head against another portfolio. And again, custom disclosures, logo, color scheme, everything else in there. And you'd end up with a report like this. So again, that PDF report, fully customized, in this case now looking at one portfolio against another. The last piece I'll leave you with as we think about YCharts from the prospecting perspective on the fly, as well as after the meeting, is support. Many of you who are YCharts clients know this already, but for those of you that might not be clients, we look at ourselves as an extension of your team. It's not just a resource for you, it's really part of your team. So that means initial training and onboarding, certainly, but on an ongoing basis, helping create content, helping create sales ideas. On a daily basis, folks are calling us saying, hey, I have a situation coming up later this week where I'm going against this particular security, or I'm looking to put myself into this particular portfolio. We're there for you to help create that content, get it into your account, ready to go to help you win the business. It's unlimited. You can leverage us as much as you'd like and really look to us as an extension of your team and a resource to leverage to get the most out of YCharts to help you get that victory and increase your AUM. So short and sweet, that's what I have prepared for you. Let me pause for a few seconds here to see if there are any questions. All right, one initial question we got here related to SMAs and models. It's a great question. It's actually something that is relatively new to YCharts. We've had mutual funds, ETFs, closed-end funds, UITs, even single stocks for a long time. We just recently added SMAs last fall, and then just a couple months ago, we also added models. So there's over 11,000 of those in the system, whether it's for your own firm or a competitor. We'll have those in there. All the information's coming from Morningstar, and then you can leverage those, creating portfolios, creating those comp tables head-to-head, one SMA against another. You can build them into the screener to sort through them. And you can put them together with other types of securities or compare them against other types of securities. It doesn't just have to be SMA versus SMA. They can go against anything. So thanks for that question. And that is something that's quite popular now. One other question that just came in here related to the usability of YCharts on a mobile device. So it's a great question also. We don't have an app, and that's intentional. YCharts is web-based because of the fact that, first of all, you can always click the back button to go back in your browser. So I like to say you can never get lost. The second thing is that you can create a bookmark folder for YCharts in your browser and then create a bunch of different bookmarks. So you even make it easier to use YCharts on the fly, because you're simply opening up a bookmark and that's taking you to an exact custom built out area of YCharts. And every time you open that, it's refreshed. So we make it very easy to access from the tablets, from the iPad. It looks the same as it does on a PC or a laptop. The experience is virtually the same. The only small difference would be If you have a smaller screen, you may see a hamburger icon, the 3 horizontal lines in the top right corner. You'd use that to access the tools and the search lookup, but everything else is the same. All right, and then one last question I see here around elaborating on the sharing capability. So the way that works is we have user groups that we set up on the back end. So if you're a client and there's multiple users at your firm, you should be in a sharing group with all those other users. When you create a chart or a screen or anything else, you'll notice that I showed you in the top left corner, you can open up a saved chart. So if you go to that drop down, you go to open, there's a tab that says my, and there's a tab that says shared with me. So we encourage everybody to create content, save it, but then take the one step further, which is this share drop down, and go to share with team. That'll enable all of your colleagues to see the same great content that you're creating. You can choose can view or can edit. I recommend can view so that they don't adjust anything that would then adjust on your side as well. This is a great way to make sure that everybody's not recreating the wheel and people are leveraging each other with the same great content that's working. And there's no cap on the number of screens that can be set up and saved and shared. We can also do subgroups. So maybe there's an overall sharing group for the entire company, but then there's subgroups by division, by team, by geography, and so forth. We also see a lot of firms that have rolled out YCharts to their kind of client portfolio management teams, product teams, portfolio consulting. It's called something a little different at every firm, but those folks are great to help create that content, save it, and then share it out to the field so that everybody's kind of having a consistent message. Everybody's working with the same material that management wants them to use, to leverage, to kind of have the best chance at success. So those folks can be key in helping create some of that content as well. All right, well, that's all the questions that I'm seeing. Thank you again, everyone, for your time. For those of you that might not be real familiar with YCharts, please follow up with us. We've got YCharts.com available for a free trial, or you can reach out directly to myself. Happy to walk you through a personal demo or a trial of the tool, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much, everyone.